Amateur radio call sign KE0OG here in beautiful Ridgway, Colorado, under about 6 inches of snow. The temperature outside is 9 Fahrenheit. So I don't know what that would be Celsius, but certainly below zero. So hello to everybody. Ed, K6SDW, is looking forward to hearing about Quartzfest. David Mayer is with us this evening, K9GCP Radio from northern Illinois, 15 degrees here. It's warmer there than here. Welcome back, says Russell, K4QPR. Optical Man Jeff, KE0KRO, says he is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where it's 10 degrees. And Don Zed says, glad to see you on tonight from frigid Minnesota, KC0DWZ. Glenn Martin from the far west Missouri area. Thanks for the work for the amateurs. He's in 0QFT. Kenny Baker, hello from the frozen state of Texas. Yes, we saw on the TV tonight that you once again are enjoying snow. AI5FR. Stephen Arbogast says it's 0 degrees last night in Durango, Colorado. Let's see what it was here. Let's see. Turn the light on, go to temperature, and high 20 today, low -6. Oops. Let's go back here and click done. Okay. -6 last night was our low, so it was a little cold. We have had problems in the past with some pipes freezing at that temperature, but I think we've got everything all taken care of now. Good evening. Time for the party. Barry and Jeff, Mike Oswald, doggies from AA7MO in Kirtland, Washington. Anthony Becerra says, hi, Dave. David Mayer, showtime. I got a little break here. Well, let's see what we can do here. It says green right there. It says YouTube is not receiving enough data. Okay, here we go. We're back in good shape now. Excellent connection. Okay, that's wonderful. Sorry about that. Our internet has been up and down all day. I think part of it is the weather. Our connection comes off the top of Lookout Mountain, and it's obviously colder up there than here. And one of the problems is its inaccessibility in the winter. There's lots and lots of radio towers up there and so on. Okay, let's see. Awesome. In forensics, hello K9LDF, greetings from London at 1:46 in the morning, 2 Echo 0 India Papa Kilo, rainy Pennsylvania, rainy, it would be nice to have rain, from Ed Fry, Sean from DFW, super cold there, yeah, I saw, and looks like the whole East Coast, Trayford, here from Warner Robins, Georgia, AJ4AC, 73 degrees in central Georgia. Wow, is that Kelvin or is that Fahrenheit? We've got Tom W7DOG in Benson, Arizona. We just came back from Arizona. Hi, Dave just got the IC211. Jorge, congratulations for you. Dave, are you having internet trouble? We are. But it appears to, well, no, it's showing a red again. So I don't know what to think. We're just going to gotta let the cat in for tonight. Let's see, Gary Winters from KB8QLZ, Southeast Michigan. What's a Fahrenheit? It's a system no one in the world uses, except Americans. 73, 58 Fahrenheit. Wow. Hello from snowy northwestern Pennsylvania. It became a real ham today. It was out in the ice taking my antenna down, removing the ice and putting it back up. Cheers from Ohio. Wow. Gary, good luck with that. Anthony, hello from Connecticut. N1PLO. David Mayer says it seems fine in Maryland. Andy Bronson says hi Dave from GB, Great Britain. Reed AB8AS, fine here in West Virginia. Oh, Andy is M7XTT, yes, which is a UK call sign. 21 here in Terre Haute, N9POJ, and we've got Ralph, K4TA, in Virginia, and Rainey in Boston too from Sean, KB1ICZ. And we've got Sydney, Australia, WILF609, Ross, VK2, Yankee, India, Oscar, Sydney, Australia. Terrence says that in London it's 9 degrees centigrade, which is above the seasonal norm. So 9 degrees centigrade would mean that he is above freezing by a fair amount, actually. I mean, that's not warm weather, but it's not cold either. Okay, so Quartzfest. What happened at Quartzfest? Well, it was colder this year. Actually, I had to wear my hoodie a fair amount of the time. I got a little bit sunburned. They did not put up any tents this year. Let me go back and start over again. Quartzfest is a ham fest that is basically the last full week in January. Starts on a Sunday, ends on a Saturday, and it takes place out in the desert. The Bureau of Land Management has a bunch of land down around Quartzfest that it allows people with recreational vehicles to go out on. Some of the land, like where Quartzfest was, you can stay 14 days for free, but then you've got to move on. There's other areas, the long-term stay areas, where for somewhat less than $200, I guess, you can stay for like 5 months and a one-time fee. And a lot of people, especially a lot of people who live in their RVs, will go down there because that's free rent. Now the problem is, of course, that it is what's called boondocking in the RV sense, which means no support, no shore power, no shore water, and no shore sewage. You're self-contained, which means you've got to make some sort of an arrangement to either go into town periodically and dump and refill, or have somebody come to you and do it, which we had done on Wednesday, and then we ran out of water Thursday, and so went into town and picked up 25 gallons of water in big 6.5 gallon jugs, and I rigged up a little pump, a little electric pump to pump it from, I mean, these things are heavy, they're 50 pounds each, which for you young guys is nothing, but for this old guy here is quite a bit. put that down next to the intake for the water tank and pump it all in, and pretty soon we had the water in. I had to put a Anderson power pole connector on that little pump that I got so that I could hook it up to a battery and pump that stuff in. It was, as I say, colder. It was windier than I remember it from 2 years ago. This year was still not a full schedule Quartzfest. They had areas set up, but no tents. The purpose of the tents is to make it dark enough so that people can give presentations on screens. They didn't have that this year because of the COVID separation rules. You can't cram people into a tent like that with the current rules, so they didn't do that. They had the areas there. You could give a presentation if you did it with practicals or something like that, but no slides. They did have an area where you could give presentations with slides. I attended a very interesting seminar on leftovers from World War II in the Quartzsite area. Apparently, Patton and his tanks trained down there before going off to North Africa to fight Rommel and the Desert Fox. And there's still, because nothing ever deteriorates out there, there are still a lot of artifacts that you can see, stuff in the land and so on. Quartzsite, Arizona is almost California, actually, on Interstate 10. 15 minutes away to the west, and you're in Blythe, California, in a real city. Quartzfest is extremely dusty, and there's so many people with their RVs there. It's impossible to get services in town, so a lot of people just go over to Blythe. We went over to Blythe for a sizzler with my wife's sister and her husband Mike. My wife's sister Kathy lives in Quartzfest for a few months out of every year to be a little bit warmer. She has MS, pretty bad. She's had a real hard time walking. And up in their home in Stratton, Nebraska, it's just very cold and very difficult. So Quartzfest is in the Sonoran Desert. The area is quite flat, so you don't have to do much to make your RV level. And there is an area, a specific spot that's the center of the Quartzfest activity. Like I said, it's about 5 miles south of Quartzfest. And people just kind of park near there. Now, there's no fence that says inside is Quartzfest, outside is the public. None of that. So as you get toward the edge of the Quartzfest campers, you're just mingling in with the general public out there. But we had no trouble with that sort of thing. Since they didn't have as many presentations, they spent a lot more time chumming around with hams. On Monday, I met, oh golly, now I'm going to forget his name. But K0OG was there, Randy from Oregon, and several of his buddies. There were another couple who provided me with the Anderson power pole and the necessary tools to put it on, whom I'm going to feature in the video that I'm putting together. There was just a lot of camaraderie and good things going on. They had a fire every night. They had a hootenanny one night. And my wife and I really enjoyed that. There were some people there. There was a gal staying very near us who is a new ham, and she is a voice actor professionally in Burbank, California. So she's there where the big guys are. And she actually rented a motorhome to come down and be part of this. So what is the purpose of Quartzfest? It's just, a ham fest. They do have a sale, swap fest on Saturday morning. And by the time I get up, it's all done. You've got to be there before dawn with your flashlights to figure out what you maybe didn't want to do. I tried to do a little stuff on the internet, but the internet is basically non-existent out there. We were able to get on our phones 5G email, and that's about it. We were 5 miles from town, which means 5 miles from the nearest cell tower, and we couldn't do very much with that. Okay, so let's see. Sorry I missed you at Quartzfest. Felt poorly, avoided folks, and tested positive when I got home. Ooh, ouch. Didn't want to share, yes. Let's see. VE3ORK, Bob is there. Just got a Bengali Traveler, a great bit of kit. Warm rain from Blaine, Washington. Good for you guys. You guys need it desperately, I know. And if you can get it up, lots of snow in Northern California, that means Southern California can reach up and grab it all and bring it right back down to them. So, an ice storm in Tennessee from WW4LLL. And Ed said we used and paid for the welcome wagon. Bob is at 24 degrees, 6,500 above sea level, 2 hours east of L.A. Okay, well, 2 hours east of L.A. is getting you close to where Quartzfest is, at least in that general direction. It's out of Blythe. It's on I-10. It's quite a ways from Phoenix. I used to think Quartzfest was halfway between Blythe and Phoenix. It's not. Quartzfest is near Blythe. Phoenix is another hour and a half or so off to the east. We did leave Quartzfest and go to Whitman, Arizona, where my wife has a cousin. And we had a grand time with them. I also went down to the airport at Buckeye and got to see Kevin Weatherilt, who was the flight instructor who got me started on this aircraft. We had a very good session. None of the people that I've had as flight instructors have figured out quite how to give that thing a smooth landing. So he told me, and so I can't wait to give it a try. And we'll be doing that Saturday or Monday or whenever, as soon as we can get there. And Rob Hawk, thank you very much. He's given me a thumbs up. And Canadian $13.99, which came in as $11.05. So thank you, Rob, for the first contribution to the chat revenue this evening. Can I use an ATAS 120A as a base antenna with 100 watts? Yes, you can. Now note that the ATAS is designed as a mobile antenna, and you need to get the tuner that goes with that. The tuner goes right at the base of the antenna. Then you need enough of a radial field to emulate the being on a vehicle. Okay, so 10 or 15 radials out from that antenna, and the ATAS, if you've got I can't remember if that's ICOM or what, but if you've got the same brand radio, you can bring in the control cable, and the rig will power the tuner. And the cable's not very long, so you may have to lengthen it. But I'd probably put that antenna up on the roof or by the side of the house, something like that. Get a little bit of height, and you'll be in good shape. But yes, an ATAS, the ATAS, Let me show you in my, this is my ICOM manual. And one of the things it does, let's see, that's the firmware update. Let's go back just a little bit here. Control commands go before the 18. Connector information. And options. Here is a couple antennas. These are the AH2B antenna element, 8.2 feet high. This one is a high performance automatic high speed tuning antenna. And you've got the antenna tuner that tunes a long wire antenna for base portable or mobile operations. This goes at the beginning of the antenna, gets it out of the shack. Connector information, if you look at, this has got all the stuff for the accessory socket. And then there is a remote jack used for computer control and transceiver. Oh, that's not what we're using. Okay, so I think ATAS must be Yaesu. And yes, you can use that as a base antenna. There is nothing wrong with that at all. Okay? So, there's also a repeater site in Victorville, California, known as Quartz site, which can sometimes confuse people. I have a repeater there. It's 4,500 above sea level, but the hat is only about 500 feet. Okay. By the way, quartzite has interesting spelling. I spelled it for a long time quartzite. Quartz, Q-U-A-R-T-Z, and then ite, I-T-E, but it's not. It's S-I-T-E. Quartzite. And there was a fair amount of quartz discovered there apparently during World War II. One of the great advantages that we had over Axis forces is that our radios were crystal controlled. So if you give two tanks the same crystals, they could immediately communicate with each other. Whereas the Nazis used VFOs to tune in those frequencies. And it was very difficult with the technology of the time to even come within a few kilohertz of the other station, whereas the Americans had instant communications. Also, the Americans used FM in those tanks because Motorola was a thing in the United States, and it equipped police and fire and stuff like that with FM equipment on VHF. And so they just made that stuff over for the tanks. The Germans used AM. And you know what the problems with AM. There's static and all that sort of stuff. And so between the fact that they chose AM and VFOs, their communications was a lot more haphazard than the Americans, which was crystal controlled and FM. Now, of course, they use crystals on their aircraft radios. They use them everywhere. And one of the wonderful things that was, but it required quartz, and lots of it. And the Americans did their level best to take over the world supply of quartz, most of which crystal quality quartz came out of Brazil. And so the Americans just went in and threw money at it and basically bought all the quartz that Brazil could produce. And there's a book I've got on how crystals helped win the war. Very, very interesting. They discovered that when they made their crystals kind of in the amateur fashion by very carefully grinding them, and you grind them with the liquid and stuff to carry the carry the debris away, that with time the quartz crystal would change value. And what the problem was, that if you grind them, no matter how carefully you clean them, there's still grit on it. An infinitesimally small amount of grit. And that grit eventually migrates away. And so what they did was they did acid etch to get the quartz crystal to the right frequency. And they found that those did not change frequency afterwards. So the whole time of, prior to World War II, most people did not use quartz oscillators because they couldn't get the crystals. There weren't any. So they had VFOs, and with the AM, that's not so much a problem. But single sideband won't work unless you've got very stable frequencies. Okay, here's for a 2 times the Celsius temp, add 30. It's close to the actual Fahrenheit. Well, they're 32 degrees apart, and the ratio of a Celsius degree to a Fahrenheit degree is 9/5 exactly. So you take the 9/5, take Fahrenheit, multiply it by 9/5, and add 32, and you will get the Fahrenheit frequency. If you want to go the other way around from Fahrenheit, you need to subtract the 32, okay, and multiply it by 5/9, and that'll give you the exact Celsius or centigrade. Okay, Kevin KC3ONO says, Jason, with a good radial or elevated folded counterpoise, but you will need a 1-to-1 balun at the rig as well. The antenna tuner, if you're using the ATAS, is an unbalanced antenna. Okay, so like all verticals are generally unbalanced antennas, and they are either end-fed or fed at the base with a counterpoise field, radial field, at the bottom, which is by its very nature unbalanced. So you can feed it directly with coax. I don't think, unless you've got some special circumstance, that you would need a balun at the rig. It wouldn't hurt anything, but you don't need to. TS440, and it was cold Saturday morning. Yes, it was. New 80 meter my antennas end-fed halfway got me 115 contacts in an hour and a half. I think it's a keeper. Yes, that I was amazed. I bought that antenna, I put it up, and I thought, thing gonna work. It worked beautifully. Fantastic antenna. Doesn't cover very much of 80, just the 8010 covers the bottom 100 kilohertz of 80, which will give you CW and FT8. Now you can get a 7510 that covers the upper 100 kilohertz or so of the 80 meter band, and then covers all of the other bands. I don't think it covers 60, if I recall correctly. Okay, yes, so Domino, the end-fed halfway from my antennas, they're good. They're really good. A lot of people were doing end-fed half-waves with 9-to-1 balance. And weren't having good luck with them. And so the trick that my antennas went with was a 49-to-1 balun. The actual turns ratio is 7-to-1. The literal turns ratio is 14-to-2. But that's a 7-to-1 turns ratio, and because you're using it as an impedance transformer, it's the square of that, or 49-to-1. And Laird Nigel P. Lawrence has contributed £1, £1 sterling to the Chat revenue for $12.41 now. Very good. DXing on 15 meters, regular and stable now since summertime in New York. Yes, and I think we're going to see more of that. We're getting further into the new sunspot cycle. Over the next 2 years, you're going to see keep getting better, and then it will kind of peak out for a year or so, and then gradually tail off for another few years after that. Okay, let's see. We've got to go. The Desert Radio Club Quartzite is starting at 73s from KN6OJX. My HT cannot hit the repeater. What would you recommend for a dual band mobile that I can use in a vehicle and base station so I can hit the repeater? Well, your HT has got a little antenna and it's inside the car, inside the house. It's very much a compromise antenna. They're cute, and outside you can sometimes get them to work to hit the repeater. What I would recommend, and I don't have one here in there, but MFJ. Let's get MFJ down here. Let's go VHF antenna. Let's see, we've got, let's get some more results in here. Oh gosh, trying to get down. Let's put a mag mount. Let's do antenna, mag. There we go, right there. Okay, there's a mount dual band, 1723 mag mount. Let's take this 1729 right here. Okay, this is a mag mount dual band, 144 to 440, 59. There might be a cheaper one. I don't know. Maybe that's just what they cost now. Okay, it's just a little thing. This is a magnet mount right here. Okay, and it's got a little coil on it for a trap. And so the bottom part here is used on 440, and the whole thing is used for 2 meters. Okay, and I don't know about a whopping 2.6 dB gain, but it'll give you a little bit of a gain. Okay, and then the other end has a PL259 connector on it. And this is an SO239 down here. We don't want to use that. And then it includes a free adapter for your HT, a BNC handheld adapter. You may have to get an additional adapter to go to your handheld. Now this can handle plenty of power. Okay, full power safely. Well, 300 watts PEP. That's far more power than you'll ever use on VHF. But this is the antenna that I would recommend for you. It's the MFJ 1729 mag mount dual band, 144 440 megahertz, okay, for $60. It's got a magnet down here at the bottom, so clean your car surface so you don't grind grit into the paint. Clean your car surface and gently put this thing down in the middle of your roof, and then route that wire in. Let's see, it's the right rear door I use the least. So that's the door that I close over the coaxial cable, and the cable is plenty long to get to wherever you have your mobile rig or handheld or whatever. And you will find that your jump in performance from what you have with a handheld with a rubber duck to this will be phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Okay, and you don't need anything fancy. Just a little thing like this will do it. That's a quarter wave, and it's a quarter wave for that too. Now, you can get gain antennas. In 2 meters, there's something known as a 5/8 that was quite popular about 30 years ago. They're still popular. The problem with them is they're single band, usually 2 meters. They give you more gain on 2 meters by basically flattening the pattern a little bit. Okay, so I hope that answers the question there. What we can do. Okay, my connection is poor. I'm sorry if that's creating a problem. Let's see. How did the Coherer work in early radio? Let's switch to the overhead and take a look. And we've got a drawing to do tonight, too. A coherer consisted of a tube of metal filings. Okay. Okay, in a connection. And there was a it consisted of metal filings, and when there was a signal that came in, it would cause the metal filings to cohere, or in other words, stick together, and you'd get a circuit that was closed, and you have like a buzzer or something like that over here. This would now come into the headphones, okay? Now, the problem was, the first time it gets a signal, it coheres, and you've got this constant tone. So there would be a small hammer on this thing that would be constantly ticking against it. Tick, 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 tick. So when you got a signal through, it would cohere long enough to get the buzzer in the headphones, and then the little hammer that would go back and forth here, gently ticking this, would uncohere the metal filings so you wouldn't get so much of a noise. Now this coherer, as it was called, was used by Marconi's radio. There are other early detectors, but as you can tell from the way I laid that out, that is not a very sensitive detector. And Marconi claimed that the 3 S's that were sent over to Nova Scotia he was just sending S's, dit, 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 dit. And he claims that you could hear it through that. Well, you're hearing all the atmospherics too and stuff like that. So the problem is, there are a lot of people who don't believe that that first radio signal was legitimate. They were saying that it just couldn't have been done, and when they looked at the propagation and and things like that, it was very low frequency. And I will tell you from my own experience, when you listen to noise for long enough, you'll start hearing things. And since all you was sending was dit dit dit, dit dit dit, it would be very difficult to not, after listening, hear dit 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 in your mind. So there were other early detectors, and I've got to do a video about that because it's quite fascinating there. Oscar Yankee 1 Romeo from Reggie Love is here. KI5SOK, there's a concrete pad outside of my shack. How would grounding work if it was 10 feet from the shack and conduit over due to core drilling, to avoid core drilling through the concrete pad? Mike, I think you must have sent me some pictures on that because I know it's in my stack to do a video about. Obviously, the optimum would be to do the core drilling, but that can cost 50 or 60 bucks. Of course, the ground rod's going to cost you another 20, and the clamps another 5, and the braid is another whatever it is. It's ham radio is not free, that's for sure. Yes, you can run it, just run it bare along the base of the house there and keep it out of the way of everything else, and then go to the ground rod where you can do that. Okay, we had talked about the correct antenna. The Coherer worked. We talked about that. Comms in World War II. Radio communications made leaps and bounds in World War II. And if it had not been for the atomic bomb, which got all the glory, the very first and foremost new technology to come out of the war would be radar. And the British went from an HF radar, which is generating renewed interest, as you know. They went from HF radar in the war. The Germans invented VHF radar, the Wurlitzers and stuff like that. And the Brits developed the magnetron, which is for microwave radar. And they invented it, but couldn't produce it very well. So they revealed their invention to the Americans, who took the magnetron and ran with it. And it was pretty amazing. Radio at the beginning of the war was basically the state of the art in radio was ham radio. There were broadcasting, of course, but in terms of the upper frequencies, 30 megahertz was considered almost unattainable. Okay, so high. And Motorola did some stuff with FM in VHF. There were other things going on, but the amateur radio was shut down, which ended up not mattering that much because most hands were young, and they went off and joined the military and became the core upon which the military's communication systems were built, which was all Morse code at the time. All long-distance communications was Morse code. The bombers would communicate with each other with AM radios, not FM, AM. And the Germans loved that because they'd listen into that and they could tell a lot of what was going on by the chit-chat between the very talkative American pilots. And I guess if you've got a group of 1,000 bombers all flying at once, there's going to be chit-chat just to keep everybody from running into each other. You remember the Mayaguez Incident, which was off of Cambodia back in the 70s or 80s? I think Gerald Ford was president. We've been right in the 1980s. The Cambodian Air Force was up fighting with American jets. And one time, one snuck through and came up behind the aircraft the Americans were using. It was an AWACS or something like that, to coordinate all the flights. And the people in it thought they were going to be shot down. The fighter backed off and went somewhere else. They knew that if they shot down that vehicle, they'd lose all their intelligence about what the Americans were doing. Because back then, even though we had already fought Vietnam, we had never really come up with a good way to encrypt air-to-ground and air-to-air communications. And so the enemy, of course, loves that because they can listen in and so on. Okay, let's see here. With hope all is well. Let's see, this concrete. With a good tuner, it does cover 60 meters. Well, yeah, but if you bypass the auto transform, you get 160, 60, and 6. Interesting. Okay. Thanks for the shout. I live in the UK. Call sign KG0PL or Golf 0 MEJ. That's Nigel Lawrence. All right, Stephen Arbogast, do you have any Guitar 2 amp projects? I don't. A lot of people want to use the guitar amplifiers, they want tubes in them because they think tubes sound better. There's a kind of a long story with that. AM, to get some sort of goodness on reception, to get some power for the speaker, went to Class AB amplifiers. And it was push-pull. You've got an amplifier in the low half of the cycle, another amplifier in the high, and they cross over. Okay? Now the crossover was not completely smooth. And you'd get what was called crossover distortion, which is the name often used also in speakers, where you have your tweeter and your woofer and so on. You can get crossover distortion in there too. But this weird let me just draw a picture of it for you here. This is a sine wave that's going through an amplifier, and this is what it actually looks like when it goes through the amplifier. It's up and then kind of down a little bit like this, and then down and then up and kind of over like this and then up. And you got this little distortion right here. Now, people grew up thinking that's what radio was supposed to sound like, because that's what radio did sound like. And it would give them such rich and warm and all this wonderful stuff, a very warm sound. And they'd put these giant speakers on the home AM radios. And I remember listening with my father to our large AM radio. It was a freestanding piece of furniture. And people thought that's how things should sound, because that's the way they did sound. Now, note that the total harmonic distortion there, because that little crossover right there creates harmonic distortion. And so people thought, well, when we put CDs together, we're going to be so good, we'll get rid of that harmonic distortion. Because it used to be that you turned the thing up at all and you'd get 4 or 5% total harmonic distortion. Well, when CDs came out and transistors came out, they designed amplifiers with basically no harmonic distortion. And people said, and still say, I might add, that it sounds flat. And I think it does too. Not flat in the musical sense, just like there's no depth. There's no depth. And I remember the very first time I listened to a CD at a friend's house, and I listened to it and I went, it sounds very flat. It sounds like it's coming from a flat surface. There's no depth. He got really unhappy with me. And in any event, guitar amps recreate this because they're tubes. They're tubes. They can't really avoid it. And so people want that because they say it gives their sound depth, but it is actually a form of distortion. Okay, just something to be aware of. Okay, Richie's Radio Room, the Wisconsin Military Academy, W9TIT. Richie's Radio Room added $1 to the chat revenue. Did I miss one up here? No, I didn't. Okay. The hard of hearing. I have the same problem. He mentioned that if I put my hand over, I have the same problem when people put on their masks. I can hear them, but I can't see their mouth, and my hearing has got some issues, and so I like to be able to see people's mouths. In fact, it's kind of weird. When I look at people, I don't look them in the eye, I look them in the mouth, because I want to be able to see what they're saying, and it makes it a lot easier to do that. There is a box made by MFJ which will give you the ability to amplify certain frequencies in the ham band. Now, for our 300 hertz to 3000 hertz bandwidth, which is only a tiny portion of the speech bandwidth, most amplifiers would consider all that just low frequency. But this particular product from MFJ, you can adjust all up and down the band. It might be a little easier for you to hear things. If you're like me, it's the high frequency that's hard. Okay, ears flushed, yes. You can do that at home too. They sell kits, and I have to do that every once in a while. The hardest issue is hearing call signs. Yes, please use phonetics. A good set of studio earphones helps a lot. These are my headsets, and these are Sony. Let's see if we can get that up there. Dynamic. Now let me put it down here. These are Sony MDR 7506 dynamic stereo headphones, and note it says professional right here. That's because these things are designed, by design, they're over the ear, so they're very nice. They're designed to reproduce sound very accurately. Now, a lot of the headphones that people buy for listening on, whatever they listen on, like the Beats headphones and so on, actually distort the sound pretty heavily. So that can make it difficult if you already have hearing issues. It may sound wonderful, but you have no idea what's going on. And that's why they make these studio headphones, because these are designed for people who make music, so that they can tell with great accuracy what is happening as they make their music. And they make wonderful headphones for video editing, because I can hear all the nuances of the video editing, what's in the background and so on. But I think I've got those on my list for the reference station for a set of headphones. And they're not that expensive. They're about $100. And yes, I know there's lots of competitors. Yes, I know that design is extremely old. And yes, I know Sony would like you to upgrade from that. But the 7506 remains the standard in studios. Now, aviation noise canceling headphones will do that too. Yes, I have noise canceling headset for aviation. It's actually not Bose, and I'll think of the name in a minute. Heil headphones or mic or Heil headset. I'd go with the headset and a foot switch for transmission. Or my Lightspeed aviation headset. Now, I have a Lightspeed. Now, the old radios run, the old aviation radios use carbon mics, just like the old telephones did, and they still use that sort of thing today. Your ham radio is not looking for a carbon mic input. It's looking for a dynamic or capacitor mic input that they've got in these, okay? They're actually quite small microphones, but they work just fine. And so you can do it. If you do it, let me know how you did it, because there's some electronics that have got to be added in place for those aviation headsets. It's not a direct connection to ham radio. Ray 6v6 audio amps, the old Hammerlins use them. They are readily available. Most tubes these days are made in Estonia or Bulgaria. There are very few American tube makers anymore. IMAC, which was in the Sunnyvale area, stopped producing ham radio tubes. They concentrate on the giant things for big transmission stations and so on. So if you have an amplifier with an iMac tube in it treat it very, very well. Other tubes that are real hard to get are the old sweet tubes, which the old Jesus used to use. They're hard to get. If you have them, treat them with kid gloves. Okay, let's see. Trouble hearing call signs. Yeah. Many people say it very quickly. You've got to remember that the point of transmitting is to be understood. If you're transmitting to show off, you're in the wrong hobby. You want the other person to understand. That's why if the other person's code is slow, you slow yours down so that they can understand you. Otherwise, they're constantly asking for repeats. And the same with the microphone. Speak to be understood. Is an aviation mic okay on ICOM rigs? You know, I really don't know a lot about them. I've got to call the ICOM guy, what's his name? I saw him briefly at Quartzfest. Kevin Laughlin was also at Quartzfest briefly. I saw him on Monday. I did not have a chance to have a good talk with him, and he took off. We was only there a couple days. That's why I chose one that sounds very distinct. Yeah, aviation mic, okay. I think there's going to have to be some kind of conversion on the things here. Optical Man Jeff includes $15. Says, thanks, Dave. Glad you had a good time in Arizona. Keep up the good work. Don's Locks sent Australian $10. I could listen to you by the campfire all day, David. You're a walking encyclopedia. Sometimes. I just don't talk about the things I don't know about. That's how I create that impression. Can anyone steer me toward an all-band antenna for HF on a budget? Yeah, go look. And it really does cover almost all the bands, and not 60 easily. Okay. And I'm sorry that I'm breaking up here a little bit. Kevin says he realized he was reading lips when everyone started wearing masks. Didn't realize I was doing that before. Yeah. You know if AMSAT or others are working on getting a geostationary HAMSAT that covers the Americas akin to the one over Africa? I do not. The problem with the geostationary satellites is your uplink. The Dish Network has a big transmitter up there, but it's only 50 watts. And it's a geostationary, and it comes all the way down to our little 18-inch antennas and puts a signal through. And there are lots of techniques that they use to do that, and you can do that. But to do the reverse, you're going to have to put a stronger signal in. There are obviously communication satellites at those exalted heights, but the problem is that you need a big antenna to go that far. 6 foot, 8 foot, maybe even 10 foot parabolic dish. And that's one of the problems with that satellite that's in a Molniya eccentric orbit. It's Molniya orbit, funded by the Russian Molniya spacecraft. They go up, hang, and then they come back down and go up and hang again for a while. It's very interesting how they work. Okay, let's see. I use headphones all the time now. Yes, they really do help. I almost always use headphones on the radio because it just makes it so much easier to understand. 8 pairs, can't beat them. Listen on Sennheiser HD 540s from 1990. Okay. So wait till your wife and neighbors are out and turn up the... Yeah, I suppose. Aviation headset adapter for ham radio. April 2010, QST Hints and Kinks article. I'm going to look that up. So that's April 2010. Hints and Kinks. Aviation headset. By the way, I'm back now from Arizona, and I have my airplane back. I'm ready to learn again, so I'm reconnecting with my flight instructor. Let's see, aviation headset. Okay, thank you, Ray Novak from ICOM. Hi Dave, love your videos. Do you have anything to say about mic fright and ways to get past it? Yeah, do it. I would. Some people say one of the reasons a lot of people are on FT8 is because they have mic fright. And I think there might be something to that. The way to get on is to get on with a friend. Okay? Whether you're on HF or VHF, get on with a friend and you agree in advance you're going to have a conversation maybe on a few topics and talk and talk and talk. And eventually you'll be willing to talk to another person. Okay? You might line somebody else up. And it's sort of like once you punch through, you're okay. You're in good shape for the mic fright. It is a problem. Let's see, I have hearing aids and they don't help when there's a lot of noise in the bands. They amplify the voice and the bands. Yes, absolutely. Use the noise reduction feature of your radio. You can get audio-based noise reduction filters. Let's see if Time Wave still makes them. Time Wave. Marine Commercial Industrial Amateur Radio. Navigator. Oh, shoot, they discontinued this. Well, I'm very sorry to hear it. Maybe someone will have something similar to it. This is a DSP noise filter. It looks like they don't make them anymore. Call DX Engineering and see what they've got that is similar to this. This is a high-end, and yes, it's expensive, audio noise reduction, and you've got a lot of control over what's going on in here. And I had one of these back when I had just the Yaesu. And the thing about that was that I thought when I got the Ten-Tech radio, it had built-in noise reduction, but it was nowhere near as good as the Time Wave stuff. Time Wave made their name on that particular product. The ICOM has a good noise reduction, but it's still not as good as that outboard one. So you might look into the outboard, meaning in the audio line separate. You plug the box into your headphone jack and then plug your headphones into the box, and it really makes a difference. Okay. If I would pick any amplifier for free, which would it be? I don't know. You pull up your hoodie over the top. And I have to teach the first 2 chapters of the tech course on the first week of March. Would it be okay to use your introduction videos to start with? Of course. Yes, absolutely. Dave, if you could pick any amplifier for free, what would it be? Well, Ameritron makes a full legal limit transistor-based amplifier that looks like a really nice amplifier. Now, there are others who make amplifiers. ANAN, A-N-A-N, ANAN, but they're tube-based. And I want to kind of steer away from tubes. Elcraft has a real nice 1500 watt output all transistor amplifier. It's really designed to work with their K4 or K3, but it'd still be a very nice amplifier. ICOM does not make a full legal limit amplifier, nor does Yaesu or Kenwood. Only now there are other amplifiers out there. There's the alpha amps, which are automatic, everything. Okay. Now the problem with getting a full legal limit amplifier like that is I've got to then get a full legal limit tuner to go after it, because you have to treat those things right. So I don't know. I've never thought about it because I think I'd like to get a tower and beam before I do that. Okay, hearing aids, let's see, dehumanizing, yes they are. Oh well, it's like being in a hospital all the time. Mask use has gone up. I'm so sorry with what's going on here. I have an IC7300 and there is a Heil Sound PS7. Might be good. Understand the mic is the same as the mic that comes with the 7300. Well, I don't know. I don't think the 7300 would be up to Heil standards. David Sheedy says, I have a general license working on the extra using your videos. Very good. Let's see, what's the advantage of that much power? Blast through pile-ups, I guess. You've got to have the antenna to go with it. Hamfriend gave me an IC706. Ever used this one? It's an older radio, but it was a legendary radio because it took a full-size HF rig and shrunk it to the size of a mobile transceiver. And it was the first radio that did that. ICOM is doing a bunch of that with the others. Let's have our drawing. This is for giveaway number 6. And I've been away for a week and very doing this, so I'm going to have to go make sure I haven't given away giveaway number 6. We'll just go like this and like this, and take a few at a time and go round and round. Okay, and we will meet in the middle here for the drawing. We're going to pick this one right here. Okay, this is for drawing number 6. Now, normally we would do this the last Thursday of the month, but I was gone, so it rolls over to today. But for giveaway number 7, which I'll announce in an upcoming video very shortly, but you can already start sending your cards and stuff for number 7. That will be, we'll give that away on the 24th, okay? So this is Stephen Campbell of Gallatin, Tennessee, I'm sorry. Gallatin, Tennessee. His name is Steve Campbell, W7SKC. He says on the back here, thank you, Dave, for all of your wisdom and great information. God bless you and yours. He's also a pilot, air transport pilot, and a commercial flight instructor. So you're a certified flight instructor, CFI. Okay, so this will be number 6. And I'm going to be honest with you, I can't even remember what number 6 was. I know it's here. I know I haven't given it away. But I will go find out what it is, unless somebody knows right there. And it will be on its way to Stephen Campbell. Now, the rest of these, notice there weren't very many this time. I'm thinking that whatever it is I picked for the giveaway didn't really ring anybody's chime like the other stuff has. So I'll try and pick something a little more interesting for this coming live stream. Okay. And emergency radio and experience with them. Let's see, Pete Dayton's channel, Kenwood, Twins, R599 and the T599. I do not know, but they sound old. If it's Twins, it's pre-transceiver days, so it's pretty old. Okay, trying to work 10 meters on WFD. Winter Field Day gave me the further bug for HF. Portable radio. Oh, it's the little portable radio thingy. Yeah, where is it? Right here. Okay. Thank you for reminding me. My wife said something about me forgetting things, but I can't remember what she said. Anyway, it's this little radio. It's got AM, FM, and weather band, and it's got the crank handle for emergency use, and it's got a little solar thing, so if you set it in a windowsill, it'll charge up. And there's an instruction book that comes with it, and there is a small connector. You can connect this to your for USB, and it's called the RADDY, R-A-D-D-Y. It's actually made by Radioddity. Okay, and they sent me this. I did a review on it. Pretty nice little unit. And this will go in the mail to Steve Campbell in Gallatin, Texas tomorrow. Okay? And I'll pick something for the next giveaway, and we'll put that to good use. Now the rest of these will be shredded so that there will be privacy, and I'm going to send Steve his entry back to him so that I've got that privacy. I don't keep records of the drawing. I don't have records of who 1 through 5 went to. I don't feel a need to keep those. It's just, to me, it's privacy invasion. So we'll just leave it at that. Okay, emergency radio. Yes, trying to work. Okay, orange radio. Okay, is it considered bad practice to use FM or C4 FM on the HF bands? Not only is it bad practice, it's illegal. Above 29 megahertz, you may use FM. Okay, and the very top portion of 10 meters is set aside for 2 FM channels. There are, I am told, FM repeaters, 10 meter FM repeaters in the country. I have never heard one. I'm also told that there are 6 meter FM repeaters in the country. I have never heard one. And of course, there are millions of 2 meter, 70 centimeter, quite a few 1.25 meter or 222 megahertz. And there are even the microwave repeaters that you can do things on. So, okay, how do you enter? Very simply, we'll just take Peter's or Steve's entry as an example. He chose to submit his in an envelope. You can send me a QSL card, okay, or you can send me, and I don't know if there are any actual postcards. Postcards are available at the post office. They're cheaper than first class, and they have forever stamps on them, okay? But he put this in an envelope. Send it to Dave Casler. Let's put it here. Dave Casler, KE0OG, P.O. Box 98, Ridgeway, Colorado 81432. Have your address. Now he's got a post office box, so I'll just leave that there. Put your name and call sign, your name and call sign, and the address to which you want it shipped. and then add your phone number so I can call you if I have any questions. Okay. Now, I don't know how well that went through. So to briefly recap, Dave Casler, KE0OG, P.O. Box 98, Ridgeway, Colorado, 81432. Put your name, call sign, the giveaway number, which in this case will be number 7, and I'll pick something for that and put it in a video that will go out tomorrow. Okay. And I apologize, I haven't had videos the last few days. We just ran out while I was at Quartzfest. Okay, so I think what I've learned from this is items that aren't strictly ham radio are probably not all that popular. That's fine. This also gives me a little bit of feedback about what to do videos about. This right here is a Redivus radio that was sent to me. Instead of being family radio service, it's something called MURS, M-U-R-S, multiple use radio service. And it is. It's not family radio service. It's a little different, but you don't need a license per se to use it. And it's VHF rather than UHF. So I'll have a video on that on Saturday. It's already uploaded. It'll release at 3 p.m. Mountain Time Saturday. Okay, so that's how you enter. If we had said your Ten-Tech radio, would that have been boxed up for Steve? I think I might have gone back and reviewed some old videos. By the way, I had a guy call me and asked me how much I wanted for that Ten-Tech. They're about $300 is what they're worth these days. And I said, call me back and we'll get this worked out. I have the shipping box for it. I have the mic that came with it. I have the cables, the manual, everything. If somebody wants it, I'll let it go. I won't say that it's in perfect shape. A couple of the buttons on the bottom, you kind of have to make sure that you push pretty hard. That's because one evening while I was operating, the cat jumped up on the desk and promptly barfed all over the screen on that thing. I ended up having to send it back to Ten-Tech to get the internals cleaned out. But yes, FM was recently authorized for CB. Yes, true. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. FM. I've heard of these things. We've never used 10 meter, 6 meter repeaters. Neither have I. There are some out there. No FM beneath 27 megahertz. No. No, it takes up too much bandwidth. It really does. What is this time of which you speak? Well, I'm not really sure I know what it is either. I'm going to go back into starting flying instruction again, so I'm going to have to get efficient about putting out YouTube videos and make heavy use of Callum. Now, I'm going to lose Callum in May or June, and because he'll graduate from high school and go on his Mormon mission. And then he has a younger brother who has indicated some interest in replacing Callum, and I'll have to see if he learns as quickly as Callum did. Callum, it'd be a hard standard to beat. Okay, built my first dipole for Mars Channel 3. Ten-Tech is a classic. Yes, it is. It's a fine and very nearly bulletproof, except cat barf, radio. You can put the thing on full output power, key down. 100 watts, key down on CW. Put a brick on the key for a half an hour. If you want to go longer than that, you need to put a little fan on the heat exchanger at the back. And then it can go indefinitely at 100 watts out, full power. So, yeah. Can't keep up with your schedule. Please help. Well, I do the live streams on Thursday evenings at 6:45 p.m. Mountain Time, whatever it is, daylight or whatever. We're on Standard Time now. And we'll do it at a pretty standard time. And then I try to put out a video every day. Those videos are made in groups, in bunches, and Callum puts them together. And so we'll see what we can do. Is the FT891 a good radio? I don't. The 991B is a fine radio. I can't speak to that. Maybe someone else can. Very good. Cool to see that you are in good health. I am. CP starts at CB starts at 20. Yeah, there's some 26 megahertz frequencies. A RRL antenna book says the current and radiated signal is highest at the center of the dipole. The voltage is highest at the ends, the current is highest in the middle. This is true. Now note that is RF current, not drawing specific sine waves for the current, but the AC current, the RF current, is highest in the middle and the voltage is highest at the ends. The ratio of the voltage to the current, or is it current to voltage, is the impedance at that point. And it's theoretically infinite at the ends, but 2500 ohms is a good value. And it's theoretically 0 at the center, but 50 ohms is a good value. Actually, it can be anywhere between 30 and 70. Is that also true for an end-fed antenna, since that is also dipole? And the answer to that, surprisingly, is yes. That's why you need the 49-to-1 balun, is to get your signal voltage up high enough to end feed the thing. Okay, so we had 6 meter repeater lengths, 2 meter talk on 6 meter station. Okay, that's cool. Augie's read Dave's books. Just finished the Berkey Blunder and it was great fun. Well, Bill, I am delighted that you had fun with that. I had a lot of fun writing it. The Berkey Blunder, the Berkey are an alien race, and they are not necessarily the smartest of beings. You know, because I see so many sci-fi with the super intelligent alien coming down to tell Earthlings what to do. Thought, why don't we flip that around? And they've managed to track or to crack the problem of interstellar space travel. They've done that, but their radios still have tubes in them. So, because they can't make transistors work, so they're doing all this stuff. Let's see. 6 meter Berkey Blunder. Yeah, sure, read it. Go ahead. Go on to Amazon and look up Casler, Casler, and then Berkey, Berki. What time for the daily vids? They release at 3:00 p.m. Mountain Time, U.S. Mountain Time. And it's at 3 p.m. whether it's 3 p.m. daylight or 3 p.m. standard. But I try to get them out because it's 5 p.m. on the East Coast, so you've got the evening to take internet troubles. The internet troubles are, I think, due to the weather. You get snow on a parabolic antenna, and it makes the shape weird, and your reflections don't reflect right. You may notice this if you have a dish antenna, and you get or DirecTV antenna, and you get snow building up on the bottom portion of it. You'll stop receiving the signal. You got to go out with a broom and wipe the snow off, get it off of there. Okay, we have had an excellent time here, and Steve, your little radio in its beautiful little black bag is going to be on its way to you tomorrow. So you should receive it sometime this coming week. I can't speak for the post office anymore. They have slowed down. It's very frustrating for people who want to use first-class mail. But unfortunately, first-class mail is not the money earner it used to be. So times they are changing. I don't think we'll see the post office go back to overnight service from New York to LA. Okay, so I'm going to say 73 to everybody. We'll finish on time. This is my favorite time of week. I hope I was able to answer your questions. We had a couple interesting ones. Everything from tube audio to, I can't remember what all the others were about. And I'm going to look up that April 2010 hints and kinks and see what I can do with aviation microphones. I've got a real nice set. They're very nice. And I hope to be using them in an airplane real soon. So, until we next meet, 73.